I'm going to show you some tools I use in my daily life. I know OT people love to see how we do things, and the special tools we use. With that said, I'm going to try to do this rather quickly, because we have a bunch of other stuff to cover. I guess the most obvious tool would be this chair I'm sitting in. Actually, I'll be talking mostly about my previous chair. It was the same make and model as this one. That was the absolute best chair. She served me faithfully for over 12 years. Bessie was what we called her. And like any other Bessie, she was strong and had a big rear end. My kind of woman. I insist on having a high-end, fast chair. People will say it's safer to go slower than it is to go fast. Not always. You don't want your sweet old grandmother going to cross a street like this. Not a good idea. Back when I was in college, much of the time, I would have to drive my chair to and from class. Round trip of about 10 miles. The good part of the trek was through a not-so-safe neighborhood. Anybody want to take a guess as to how fast I went through that neighborhood? Like a wheelchair-bound bat out of hell. I did this for 3 years, so I perfected the route that I took. I was able to trim it down to about 35-40 minutes. If you do the math, that comes to about 8 or 9 miles an hour. Now for a power wheelchair, that is just stupid fast. Along with my 3 years in college, braving the weather and dangerous surroundings, I've had countless other adventures in my previous wheelchair. This chair I'm in now is only about 5 years old. She's done pretty well. But like within first love, you never have another quite like it. I have the ability to tilt and recline. I have personally made some extensive modifications over the years. I have configured the drive settings to my personal preference. I have reprogrammed my seating switch to control the back and the legs separately. I've rotated the switch upside down to prevent me from accidentally hitting it and to protect it from any kind of liquids. I've shortened the overall length of the chair by almost a foot. I've removed the foot plates to shorten the chair even more. Now all I have is little foot pegs, which is all I need. As you can see, I've attached a few large bags. I like to carry certain items with me. Things like duct tape, rope, matches, an orange garbage bag, a spare wheelchair charger, a toolkit, and last but not least, toilet paper. Okay, onto my Dynavox. It's basically a really fat tablet. It is running Dynavox communication software on top of Windows XP, which means it has the same capabilities of any other Windows computer. The Dynavox software is pretty flexible. If you get deep into the settings, you can do all kinds of stuff, like read books, email, text, music, videos. You can even bring in audio files to use for communication purposes. You'll see what I mean in just a second. Because I work on computers, I have a lot of spare parts. That includes laptop chargers. So I found one that fits my Dynavox, but far more important, one that supplies the proper amperage. Otherwise, the battery could be ruined. The whole point was to have a smaller, more compact charger, since the original Dynavox charger is literally the size of a brick. The one I chose is small enough to mount on my Dynavox with Velcro. It also has a nice 90-degree plug that goes into the device, so there's nothing poking out the side. Now the only other thing I need with me is any ordinary laptop power cord. It's on a nice daisy mount. In case I want to smooch on my wife, I'm totally accessible. Did I mention this thing is just stupid heavy? Now for my newest tool, toy. This is my Sheep to Thrive. It's the 32 gig version, and I have a 32 gig memory card for you. Other than a few heavy tasks, I can't do everything on here, including communication, in a pinch. If this thing here happens to die, my tablet can be a very capable backup. I can set it up on a table, or hold it in my lap, which is usually what I do. Or if I want, I have some Velcro tabs on my Dynavox that correspond with Velcro tabs on the back of my tablet. I totally access to the nuts and bolts of the operating system. That allows me to install different operating systems, which I've done. It's still Android, but it's a slimmer, more efficient Android. It doesn't have all of the preloaded apps that come with it, out of the box. That ultimately means it's faster, more responsive, and it gets some crazy battery life. I decided to buy this particular brand of tablet because it's so flexible with all the different ports and the replaceable battery. It's really good for watching movies too. We like to go to Sonic and eat in the car and watch movies. We watched the movie named Wall-E. For those who haven't seen that, the cutest movie ever. Now when my wife calls me, I hear her say this.
Wall-E!
And I, of course, have to reply. All the women are thinking, that is so sweet. And the guys are thinking, excuse me while I barf. I honestly don't see the resemblance. You? Next is my monster of a phone here. This is actually the original Evo. Everybody in the Evo, it's a slim little streamlined phone. This is obviously not slim, nor streamlined. That's because of two reasons. One being this big fat battery sticking out the back. And two, it has a very thick case on it. I can drop this on concrete without any problems. I don't know if you can't see, but I have Velcro on the back. Normally, this is stuck right here. Very convenient. This is actually one of my foot plates that I bolted onto the frame.
You want to click it? Sorry, check. We have a temporal LCD. Try it again.
Got the green light.
We're back. At Jim.
Redneck style baby. Now I've done the same thing with my phone that I did with my tablet. I've gained total access and installed a slimmed down operating system. I can go 4 days without charging this thing. It helps being a geek sometimes. And like my tablet, this can act as a substitute communication device. Okay, next we have my video game controller. This is the controller I used in the previous video. It isn't in any way designed for people with disabilities at all. But it has the ability to switch button functions. For instance, if button A is the jump button, and button B is the punch button, I can switch those and flip-flop those functions. It helps sometimes. It's by far not the perfect tool for the job. To my knowledge, there are no out-of-the-box video game controllers designed for people with disabilities. However, there are people who modify these controllers to accommodate people with disabilities. And the modifications can become very extensive. The problem is the market for these types of products isn't large enough to warrant mass production. Therefore, they are seriously expensive, and I'm talking sometimes a couple of $1,000s expensive. These are some of my smaller tools. A nice multi-tool, a small screwdriver, a bottle opener, and a reacher. I probably use this screwdriver the most out of everything here. I use it to open pretty much everything, from soda cans, plastic wrapping, plastic containers, and it also works like a small pry bar. Not to mention, it fits most computer screws. The bottle opener tool is very handy obviously for opening bottles and jars. Again, something that wasn't designed for people with disabilities, but it works really, really well. And because this is OT, I simply have to show you my bathroom. My wife and I have separate bathrooms, and I recommend that for every couple. I love my bathroom. It's fairly accessible, considering it wasn't designed by someone in a wheelchair. The key tool is this bar. This is a fold-down grab bar. I absolutely love this thing. I ordered it and had our maintenance guys install it. The placement was very important. I wanted it in front of the toilet to create sort of a box. With this wheelchair behind me, it would be very difficult for me to fall. That creates some sense of security in my mind. And it folds up out my way when I don't need it. When it's shower time, that same bar becomes a pull point for me when I get out of the shower. The shower bench was also my choice. I wanted the cutout under me for several reasons. The first is because I have absolutely no butt. Consequently, my balance suffers. Having my abs and butt sort of in that cutout greatly improves my balance. A lot of the time, my wife isn't home when I decide to take a shower. Feeling stable, safe, and comfortable is crucial when I'm doing that kind of stuff by myself. The second reason for the cutout is for easy access to that specific area of my body. The third reason for that cutout is, say we go out of town. This bench will obviously work in the shower, but more importantly, it will fit over the toilet in case the toilet is too low. It could also suffice as a makeshift toilet, since it has a bucket that fits underneath. So a very important and flexible tool for me. I guess the key to all of these tools is that I chose them myself. That's going to be key for any accommodation you might suggest to your patients. It has to be what they want, or I can promise you they won't use it. Perfect example. I have a very functional zipper hook at home. I can hook it in the zipper handle and zip or unzip my pants. It works just fine, but I never use it. It's a pain carrying it everywhere, digging around in my bag trying to find it. So do I just go around with my pants unzipped all the time? Man, I wish. Talk about being accessible. No, I came up with my own solution. That's a simple zip tie. I can make it as big as I want, cut off the excess, and never have to worry about finding my zipper hook. The zip ties don't melt in the dryer, they won't ever rust, and they're so much cheaper than specialized zipper rings. And I even color coordinated that one. How about that? One more thing. What you might think is appropriate for a patient quite often isn't what they think is appropriate for themselves. Prime example. Where we live, I have a sharp 90-degree turn into my bathroom. As you can see, I can't just swing out wide to make that turn. Rear-wheel drive chairs like mine are notorious for their large turning radius. It might be suggested to me to switch to a mid-wheel drive chair. And that's a very reasonable suggestion. I just don't want to. I dislike mid-wheel drive chairs. I like having the drive wheels right up under my non-existent, but in my opinion, rear-wheel chairs simply ride better. And besides, how else can you pop a wheelie?